We are back. I'm Ariyana Love, TLB Director of Middle East Rising and the Liberty Beacon. We are here with Luca Majno, and we are discussing a very serious issue. We are discussing Standing Rock and the increased police brutality and cover-up of their crimes.
Wow, that's a big one. So nice to hear my name pronounced properly because so many people don't.
I know. I have to think about it for a second because
I saw that. Before the break, we were talking about how proud we are of the Indian nations, and I can tell you that this no pipelines, keep it in the ground comes directly from Standing Rock, with people holding it as a banner, and I was gifted that because of the work I'm trying to do, and they're really freaking out about this oil because, as I have learned,
can I throw something in here?
What?
I've got my native. This is brick stitch.
Cute.
Native brick stitch. Whoops! I'm gonna move this cord. No, there. Hold on. Lost my earring. Just a second.
That's okay.
This is a native brick stitch. It's a Comanche weave, and it's called brick stitch. Anyway, it's a traditional Native American handcraft, and I did make these myself.
Beautiful. Congratulations.
I lived 1 year on the Hupa reservation, Hupa Karuk reservation in Northern California, and I learned from a Native American this handcraft. So anyway, something I'm very proud of. Not so many people know how to do it.
Beautiful. And also, Ariyana and I are here in truth. And when the feather is present, you cannot lie. When the feather, when you're talking with the feather, you cannot lie. The feather has been with me, with my sage as well, sitting with me, right next to me. So in honor of the first people.
And I'll also just say another interesting thing. I do have a Cherokee, Lakota, Comanche mix in my blood. Not a lot, not enough to claim anything, but it's something I'm very proud of. I do feel that, it's with me. And I'm also from Scotland. I'm a Scots woman. My ancestry, Scotland, Ireland. So just throw that in.
Well, I'll throw something in even harder. I'm born in Boston from a German mother and an Italian father. I have absolutely no Indian blood whatsoever. And that's the first thing people say, are you Indian? And that's part of the genocide because blood quantum has nothing to do with it. You talk to an elder and he'll say what's in your heart is what counts. Blood quantum and all this stuff, tribal council, they're all white. They're all wasishu is what they call them. They're all white terms. They're all European terms that they used to throw on the people to assimilate them, just like Christianity.
Even the name Indian, it was given to them because Columbus thought that he landed in India. So that's where the term Indian came from. It's not what they call themselves. So Native American is maybe or First Nation people is what they prefer to be called.
When I learned about what the word America means, the love of riches, somebody said to me, I'm a proud First Nation. Don't call me Native American because of the word America in there. So you can insult. You're always insulting people. You can't please everybody. So
see, I knew that Indian was derogatory, and then I adopted Native American. But even still, no, they prefer to be called First Nation people.
In Canada, yes, First Nation is very common, and
We should at least try.
Down south, it can be, you know, original people. There's all kinds of different words that we'll be using just to try and please everybody.
You know what? I just want to throw this in, that the Palestinian people have been my greatest teachers. Some of my greatest teachers. Also the First Nation people in America. You know, the indigenous people, the native people of the land, they're connected to the earth, to the nature. If you compare the Palestinians, you know, they plant the olive tree. They take such good care, and they're the best farmers in the world, and they produce the finest olive oil in the world. And they have techniques for harvesting and taking care of their olive trees. These are, you know, the trees that live for several thousand years. Some of them in Palestine were planted when Jesus was walking there, when Jesus was there and was alive. So they take pride, and their connection to the land is extremely important, and it's their connection to their ancestors, because their great grandparents planted that tree, and it was passed down through the generations. And you can compare this with the First Nation people in America. They also have this connection, this incredible connection to the nature and to the earth. It's sophisticated. It goes back thousands of years. They have advanced system of medicine that uses natural plants and herbs and stuff that Americans, that the settler Americans realized in recent years, in the past couple decades, that the Native Americans, or the First Nation people, have something really wonderful, really special to offer. And so people began going to the sweat lodges and began going to the ceremonies and learning from them. So they are teachers to us, because we've lost our way. It's pretty clear. We're under intensive mind control programming, you know, mass media manipulation, and we're being brainwashed and lied to left, right, and center. And how do you go back to connecting with yourself, with the source of your true power, with your spiritual side, which we are taught to deny? We're taught not to show emotions and you know, things like that. We have taboos about that in the Western culture, but they are more connected. Granted, they're traumatized. They went through genocide. We're all traumatized, but they are some of the greatest teachers alive today. And they have lessons and knowledge to share. And they are, to me, they're leaders. They are the leaders of this age, because they've had to endure more than the rest of us. They've had to suffer and endure. I mean, we all are. This is about humanity, and nobody understands it better than them. Even the Palestinians. When I was in Palestine, I was there for a year, and never once did I hear a single Palestinian criticize a Jew or criticize an Israeli, put anybody down. They don't talk bad about other people, because Islam teaches you not to do that. And when I asked them, how after all this time, how can you not be angry or showing anger towards your oppressors? And they said, it's not the Jewish people. They said that we have a problem with. They said the Quran tells us that the Jews and the Christians are our brothers and sisters. And this is a majority Muslim, Sunni Muslim population in Palestine. They said they are our brothers and sisters. They said the problem is Zionism. So they understand it, because they're on the front lines. They've been dealing with this beast, this deception, their whole lives for 67, 68 years. Same thing with the First Nation people in America. Their lands were taken. They were genocide was done, the biggest genocide in world history, with 100 million people. Yeah, we covered that. But it's the same thing. So they are really a shining example of, you know, when you hear some of them talk, they talk from their heart. They have a different set of values. They have a different concept of reality than the rest of us, than the way that the rest of us are brought up. And we need to learn from them. We need to understand how they're standing there at Standing Rock in nonviolence. It's mind-blowing. They are probably the reason why nobody has been killed yet is because of prayer, which prayer is very powerful. and they're using this tool. And in fact, some of the police officers have turned in their badges. Some of them have cried. And this is the thing, that it is powerful. It is having an effect. It's exactly what DAPL and the police and the US government, the Zionist government now, does not want. They're actually trying to stage violence. If the water protectors won't be violent, we'll stage it. They're trying to get someone killed, and they need to be held accountable for this. So anyway, I'll give the floor to you. We have more information to get through.
Yeah, it's beautiful, because what we're going to be talking about, I'll be bringing up later on, because we're going to finish on a positive note, and I want to share what Linda Black Elk had to say about her way of living and about the plants and the earth, exactly like you say. Ariyana.
Perfect.
I'd like to reiterate what we said at the end of the show, at the end of the break. 10 drops of this dirty oil going through the pipelines will contaminate a 50,000 gallon water tower. 10 drops. You know, and we're living in a country where we don't need it, first of all, but the names of the states, 26 of them, I believe, have a direct connotation, have a direct history to the land and the people. The two biggest rivers that are in danger right now, and all the other tributaries, the Missouri and the Mississippi. What does Missouri mean? Missouri. Sounds awful Indian to me. Where does that come from? You know, they call it Wemes Urita Indians, which means he of the big canoe, or a wooden canoe people. The word Mississippi comes from the French Mississippi. It means the great river, or the father of waters. The Missouri River is 2,341 miles long. The Mississippi River is 2,320 miles long. And if you just look at or Google it or search for tributaries of the Missouri and the Mississippi, and you'll see it branches out right up to Canada. The Missouri goes right up to Canada, it comes down, and it goes through so many states. There's Montana, there's North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, Iowa, Missouri, you know, and then it falls into the Mississippi River in St. Louis. The Mississippi starts in the upper Wisconsin, goes around Minnesota, Iowa, you know, Illinois, straight down to the Gulf. And you have the Red River, the Arkansas River, the Missouri River, the Illinois River, the Ohio River. You know, it never stops, and all these tributaries come down to those two rivers, and they join in one. So if you pollute one of them up here, of course there won't be anything for the other one on the way up, but if you pollute from here, it's all going to drain down, and it's a disaster for tens of millions of people living south. And the Indians know that. I hate to use the word Indians, but I'm talking, you know, I never know what to use. I really don't like to use the word America, because now I know what it means.
Right. But that leaves us with virtually almost nothing else to refer to the citizens of. Again, like America, USA. USA is a corporation. It's a corporation that was incorporated in the 1800th century. It's in the Vatican Trust. So USA, you can't even refer to that. America, I mean, amazing. Yeah. What do we use?
So, well, we're you know, it's so wonderful to be here together, to be able to talk about stuff that's so important. It's one of the first times I talked to Ariyana. Some of the first things she told me, she said, you know, I have this whistleblower that I talked to, and I thought, I have a whistleblower too, and I've been talking about him for years. And this is what we want to get to right now, the whistleblowers. This is very important. Another reason why I believe it's a huge ingredient in the whole problem in this fight with the water protectors. They're getting so anxious and so troubled because they know the pipeline history. They know the oil spills. And I believe this is only one of the reasons for such hostile actions by the pipeline and their security, and the police and the National Guard and everything, because they don't want people there seeing what they're doing, because they know that they're not doing it right. They know. Anyway, I'm not going to blow my cover for this whistleblower here, but we're probably not even supposed to say this to people, but you want to hear the truth about pipelines. 292 oil spills in North Dakota alone in the last 2 years. The media reports one. 292 oil spills in North Dakota in the past 2 years, and the media only covered one. So what I started doing, because besides doing my radio shows with this, I based one radio show around the pipelines, the oil spills, and the greed of government. And this whistleblower, in case in point, his name is Ivan Vokes. He worked with TransCanada Pipeline, which is the mother of the companies, and he had a managerial position, a very high up position, and he saw what they do. So on June 6th of 2013, forgive me if I'm reading, but I have to, there's so much stuff to cover. Yeah. Ivan Vokes testified. This is a quote from him. TransCanada Pipelines has a culture of non-compliance and deeply entrenched business practices that ignore the legally required regulation and codes. The mix of political and commercial interests alone allows the industry to claim that they exceed federal requirements when they're building substandard pipelines with no enforcement or accountability in the process. Substandard
pipelines. It's intentional. And another whistleblower named John Bolenbaugh, he's a former big oil employee, and he spent his life savings documenting oil spills and speaking out. He explains the dangers of the pipeline. He says that 70% of the oil spills are covered up, and we never hear about them in the media. And he said that this is because they are deliberately designed to fail. And the reason for that is because there's more profit. If they have an oil spill, they make more money. And here's how. The oil companies, they profit from the insurance companies who pay them to clean up their own messes. And these messes are very poisonous because there's a Molotov cocktail of chemicals used to thin the tar sands. Mm-hmm. So basically, this is all deliberate. Though they are substandard, and they are that way on purpose. Mm-hmm.
I'm willing to
whistleblowers saying that.
Yeah, I'm willing to back that up too, because of what I know in the past 30 years. This is all you see. The EPA blowing up a mine on purpose, deliberate, and running the Animas River in Colorado bright orange. And who lives downstream? The Navajo Nation. Allowing fracking companies to dispose of millions of gallons of toxic wastewater from fracking right into the Pacific. No problem. BP gets their hands slapped after doing what they did. And today, it's the same thing. There's still pollution. There's still horrible smells in the Gulf. They don't care. This is what I always say in my radio show, those 3 words. They don't care.
Greed is what drives them. And knowing that this is deliberate, being told by insiders that this is deliberate, leads me to bring up another point that, given that the Zionists, the New World Order Zionists, are using companies like Monsanto to poison us, genetically modified foods, controlling the food supply. Well, isn't this another way, a great way to control people? If there were an oil spill on the Missouri River from the Standing Rock, it would cut off 17 million people from their drinking water.
Right. And there's Nestle. There's Nestle in the wings waiting, because now you have to buy bottled water.
Bingo.
You know, you don't even have to stop at Monsanto either. You can talk about everything, like the chemical assault on us that we're going to get to in a minute from chemtrails. You have Monsanto, and Rockefeller is another very interesting character who invented Molotov cocktails. I love that term of yours. He invented chemical cocktails instead of healing medicine. He had book burnings. He bribed medical schools to use his chemical cocktails. It's nonstop. They've wanted to poison us. They've wanted to do this for a long time. And then there's Big Pharma. So there's a whole bunch of radio shows that you can do on that.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
I want to give another example where I live. I have to read again. I'm sorry, but
no problem. This was so much information. If we didn't have a script to follow, we'd be all over the place.
To give Iowa / Missouri / Illinois as an example, there should have been an uproar about this pipeline coming through here, crossing the Mississippi 3 times around our area. There should have been an uproar about that years ago. It's just crazy, and it crosses the Missouri River twice, I believe. All it takes is one person on city council, right? He drives down or he flies down to Texas, makes a deal with big oil, signs a check, comes back home, pretends nothing happened at all to his city, a city around here, I might add. And smoothly getting rid of people that are going to talk too loud. We'll get rid of this guy. We'll put these 2 guys on board, replacing them with better ones that want to make money and shut up about everything. They're bought off as well. And the more bought off with everybody else, the better. So
I want to say these whistleblowers, they all reported having been offered loads of money to keep their mouth shut.
Yeah,
but they couldn't live with that. Yeah,
they're all in cahoots. Army Corps of Engineers, government, politicians, lawyers, judges. Why do you think they killed Antonin Scalia, the Supreme Court judge? All because of something he was trying to do for the people, and we can't have that, so they get rid of him too. It's non-stop. And this is only one instance that we're covering. They need good people, and they need good security. But if that was the case, then they'd be taking off their shields and their armor and put their badges down on the ground and run towards the First Nations people on the other side of the barricade and hug them and apologize to them like we were talking earlier. At one point in the standoff in Standing Rock, there was a 5 or 6-year-old girl, a very small girl, a granddaughter, trying to give a branch of sage to a police officer. And he broke down in tears. He backed off, and he broke down, and he had to be relieved, crying like a baby.
That's the power of nonviolence, of love, of the truth, of when and when you can remain calm and not become violent, not react, but stand and face. It has the power to disarm people, and this is the power that they're using. Prayer.
And my friend Larry Cooper has a quote that I have to throw in here. He says, to people, to non-believers, the beautiful Mississippi. You can't even bathe in the Mississippi today, because if you do, you get all kinds of, ulcerations or white things, growing on you. One person tried to swim the Mississippi in its length and had top way up on top where she started, because she was breaking out.
Wow.
So Larry Cooper has a beautiful quote. He says, when the water in your cup turns black, I'll be glad to piss in your cup. In other words, we told you, you didn't listen. This is what happens. Okay. I think Ariyana and I have to talk about Israel also, because of the similarities between the genocide of what's going on here and what's going on over in Palestine. And it breaks our heart to talk about it, but what it does too, it empowers us, because we're teaching other people the truth. We're following the truth. We're telling the truth. We're encouraging truth. Several months ago, I posted 2 pictures. Actually, it's one drawing and 1 picture. When you investigate, you see signatures all the time. some of the repeated actions that criminals always use all the time, and that's what betrayed them in the end. Well, in this case, the way this government handles First Nations, and it shows you how important they are to them. In 1493, 1492, as we know, Christopher Columbus comes over, and then the next year he's smart enough to bring okay, we're going to bring our Spanish dogs with us. We're going to unleash them on the population of Hispaniola. And this really stuck with me, so much that I put a picture on my wall about that, and you can see that. You have to dig very deep because they won't show you that on Google. But not too long ago, this security company for the pipeline deal, this $3.8 billion, incredible deal, no less, attack dogs. Attack dogs were pretty much let loose on the unarmed water protectors. Their mouth bloodied in some pictures.
The dogs' mouths were bloodied.
Yes.
Children were bitten in their face by the dogs.
Some were even so scared, the dogs were so scared they panicked, which means they weren't trained properly by the trainers. They actually bit the trainers themselves in a few cases. And come to find out, okay, so who's this company? Security company. Oh, G4S. Well, look at that. See, this is where the empowerment happens. You work so hard to get to the truth, to get to the truth, to get to the truth. And all of a sudden, two links come together. Yeah, G4S.
And for people who don't know, G4S is a British company, and G4S runs the security. They're one of the biggest security companies in the world, and they run the detention and torture facilities in occupied Palestine, the Israeli torture facilities. These are institutionalized institutions of torture. They arrested more than 1,000 kids, tortured more than 1,000 kids last year, Palestinian kids, children. We're talking as young as 12, some of them, and they are held in these detention facilities without charge as a trial. They're political prisoners, and they're crossed over the Green Line, which is another war crime. And these are G4S facilities. I just have to emphasize that's again another connection between Standing Rock and Palestine.
Yeah.
Occupation. They've institutionalized the torture of children. And this is G4S company. They're very dangerous. What else? You got to tell us more. I mean, I know you research this even more than me. And I went out to the refugee camps here in Finland, and I noticed this G4S on the security guards' uniform. And I said, "Is that the company that that you work for?" Yeah. We're working for that company, but actually we're changing to a new one. I didn't investigate. I don't know what that new company is, but there we go. Please give us more information on the G4S.
Oh, well, I don't know that much. I mean, I haven't prepared that much more on it, but they're working on Fortune 500 companies. They're working with Wall Street, and it's very obvious that they're linked with what I call the Israelification of the United States, because our police forces are now being trained under Homeland Security / Israel Mossad, So this is why the police are getting so violent. Up to now in history, even in 1970 in the Kent State riots, when 4 people were shot, and the person shot lying on the ground with the woman kneeling over and screaming, that picture that won the Pulitzer Prize for photography. And they even doctored that. Oh, there's a stick that comes out in back of her. Why don't you erase it, to make it look even better? Those instances happened because we were not aware yet that the police was protecting corporate interests. And in this case, they wanted to get rid of the protesters in front of Kent State. So it's always been this way, but we're waking up to it a lot more now because of internet, because of, knowledge that people have, and people that can go, that were taking notes earlier, 20 years ago, this one here fits with this one here. Like pieces of the puzzle are coming together all the time.
It's very clear that the Wharton County Sheriff's Department local law enforcement is working together with the media to lie with the National Guard. We didn't mention that. The National Guard is at Standing Rock. They were called in. This is federal. Federal government is complicit in this crime and abuse against the First Nation people and all the other water protectors who are there. The National Guard, this is serious, folks. They had, vehicles, armed vehicles. I mean, vehicles they used in Afghanistan and Iraq. And, there's no need for that kind of force against unarmed people.
Yeah.
And anyway, so the National Guard had to it's important to mention that to paint the full picture. So the Israelification of America, I think it's important here to interject, to throw in that, I wrote an article about 9/11, and basically, if people don't know, Israel did 9/11. Hello. Israel owns the media. Israel did 9/11. Israel is the biggest terrorist threat to Americans today. This treason that's going on, there's many dual nationals within the government. Great example, Hillary Clinton. She has Israeli nationality. That is illegal, folks. That is treason. A politician in the U.S. government serving in any capacity is not allowed to have a dual nationality with any other country. And so, these are things that we have to wake up to, that fact that Israel is not our friend. This is a terrorist regime. This is a illegal military occupation, and they are the how do you say, the fiefdom of the Rothschilds. This is where all black market money across the planet, we're talking sex trafficking, child sex trafficking, blood diamonds, organ trafficking, it all funnels through Israel.
What we're saying, what Ariyana and I are saying, is that this is all deliberate. We've seen this done to the Aborigine of Australia. Yeah. Though many people in the world, still don't know that it was legal to shoot an indigenous person on site in Australia until not too long ago. This is colonization, plain and simple. And it rests on this ridiculous premise that the church made up, this thing called the doctrine of discovery, which is something else that I did a radio show on. And this is so much fun to talk about because it's so silly, it's so retarded. This is the epitome of colonization, okay? They say that the Indians do not have title to their land. They don't have the right to own the land because they weren't Christians at the time the Christians landed. Okay? And if you look at the texts, if you look at John Cabot's charter from King Henry, whatever, if you look at the papal decrees, including this one, they all say very specifically to go out to seize all lands, islands, inlets, harbors, whatever you can find, and kill as many pagans and savages as you can. The Constitution of the United States even has the words merciless savages in it. Mm-hmm. At that time, by European law, it was might makes right. The laws were all made up to suit themselves, these invaders. Well, the indigenous people of these newly found lands did not have title to the land because they weren't Christians at the time the Christians landed. It sounds so retarded. It was a very neat trick, though, that allowed them to kill off over 100 million souls since 1492. And if ever there was a reason for me to do what I'm doing and why, it would be because of that. And because of the residential schools that we'll get into some other time. But as far as the residential schools, they have one incredible picture of the whole school, the pupils, on the lawn for the picture in front of Carl Industrial School in Pennsylvania. And they all look alike. You have to look hard to see the difference between the boys and the girls. They all look alike. And it's exactly what our Russian system of education wants: dumbed down, controlled, obey, learn, and regurgitate what you learned. It's not about originality. It's not about love. It's not about differences that can help the world. No, they want people exactly cut out the same way. In that movie by Pink Floyd, The Wall, you have the kids going down in the meat grinder, one after the other. That's exactly what they want. They want the same thing. They don't want anybody, like George Carlin says it really good. He says they don't want people that can think. They don't want people that can, that are intelligent enough to see that they're being screwed, And when you know this stuff, it really makes sense, and you can connect the dots. And I'm so proud to know you, Ariyana. It's incredible. It's such a pleasure, because it's one soul that finds another in this difficult road that we have, and it's been 30 years for me.
It's my pleasure too, to be able to talk to you about a vast array of information that all interconnects. It's only it's because we've spent years researching. Well, for me, it's basically since 2011. When I moved back to Finland, I spent 5 months researching into 9/11. When I discovered that Israel planted the bombs and that they had the biggest, they did 9/11 with inside help, then that was what triggered me to research and study Zionism. It took me 3 years to understand the concept of Zionism, what Zionism is, because they confuse you by trying to they hijack the Judaism, and they're masquerading as Jews when actually they're not. You don't have to be Jewish to be a Zionist. Zionism is
it's cruel. It's evil.
It's evil. It's more likened to Satanism.
Exactly. Okay, so let me share another thought with you as far as deliberate actions by the government. Okay, when we see things play out in this country, how they've hijacked, to use your word, that's perfect. How they've hijacked our country. You see posts on Facebook that say, this land belongs to you. And I'm like, no, it doesn't. It doesn't belong to me. It didn't belong to the First Nations that were here. The original people say that they're the caretakers of the land for unborn generations. You don't own land like you own this. You can't own the land. You can't carve your mother's breast. They had no concept of land ownership. They didn't know what it was. Well, I think it's all a deliberate setup.
They see themselves as caretakers to this day.
Yeah. I see this as a setup, basically. They, which is government, okay, they decide quietly behind closed doors that they're going to do, let's say, letter A to letter H, okay? No one hears about it. They keep the public in the dark. The media doesn't report it. Then we start hearing about A, B, C, D. They're working on, I, J, K, and L. And, they've done their homework. They know how this works. They know it takes us time to catch up while they keep going. Well, there's a classic example of this, okay? Because now, we're kind of scrambling and picking up the pieces behind them. All of a sudden, you hear that they want to transfer all national park lands that they want in order to profit from those too. No more national parks. No more national forests. Oh, you know why? Because there's good uranium, or there's mining underneath there. And I hate to use the word a-hole, but that's exactly who John McCain is, and Jeff Flake, because what they did, they went in with a real neat trick right before one law was being passed. They snuck in something to allow them to give away Apache sacred lands to mining companies. It's really cool too, because the mining companies have the same name, very close to Tonto. Their name is Tinto. It's a joke. And AJ Plus has a fantastic, very short video about how much money Jeff Flake and John McCain made from that.
Okay.
You know, contributions from the mining companies, they doubled, you know, in John McCain and Jeff Flake's campaigns. So you see this transferring going on, and you see this stuff being played behind our back, and you know, like, what are we going to do? We're gonna let this continue. Is that what we're going to do? You know, it's like, you know, we can't. The headline on the article that I saw, it says this. It says GOP platform proposes to get rid of national parks and national forests. And, you know, do you think they're going to ask me? Do you think they're going to ask my neighbor? How come we don't have any say? And this is what makes you start to think. You never had any say to begin with. Silly, you know? So they know that the mining company is going to make the money. The mining company shows interest, so they say, okay, this is the most sacred land to Apaches. You know, and then there's Geronimo, and before his death, and I swear he was like Joseph. I think they both died of a broken heart, because, you know, when, you know, like Geronimo said, when are we going to be able to say there are no more Apaches? This is how bad it is. It's never been seen before. And now, oh, whoops, there goes the Grand Canyon too, because we found the potential for mining there next door. You know, you want to see drilling towers on top of the Grand Canyon? You know, so this is completely in line with their agenda, as one can plainly see, as if we were watching and learning from, you know, from behind these goons and picking up their sloppy trail. It's the story of this government, this country born of Rothschild Zionism, of greed, of murder, and genocide, just like Palestine under attack by Israel every day. We see the same patterns, the same arrogance, the same violence, especially when it's out of sight, out of mind. Like in North Dakota, you know, nobody can see what they're doing. It's, you know, carte blanche, do whatever you want. You know, Obama says let it play out, like you're saying earlier. You know, carte blanche on the Indian nations, just like it was when they, you know, they would shoot the bison from passing trains, because they knew that the Indian tribes of the West needed the bison for food, for clothing, for teepee shelters, for everything came from the bison. There was nothing left, tools, everything, you know. And they have lotteries. They paid people to come in with their guns and shoot all the bison as much as they can, and they have tens of millions of bisons piled up in the skulls, the pile of skulls that they have.
Take out the food supply. Yeah.
You know, you want to control the people, control the food supply. Exactly.
And the water supply.
So if you want to see a map of Indian land loss, check out the Palestine land loss as well. And then you'll start to see the agenda.
Palestinians are living on less than 20% of their original land. And during the Israeli attack on Gaza in 2014, that just shocked the world, and we saw their vicious nature. Actually, Israel seized 45% of the land of Gaza, pushing all the borders in. They seized half. I'll let you continue.
Oh, it's heartbreaking, you know. And I keep wanting to say how good it is to be together and to be able to do this, because it's one thing saying this to by myself, but it's another having you echo the same thing for halfway across the world. And for people who don't know, Rothschild created Israel. 1917 was the Balfour Declaration. 1948, Rothschild paid to go populate Israel. He paid for the Knesset. He paid for all, you know, there's all kinds of Illuminati symbols on the courthouse. It's very, very obvious. And you got a very angry David Icke who talks about that. It's a phenomenal piece. It taught me so much. But I'd like to kind of shift to a more positive note, because we're going to kind of talk a bit more positive.
Before we do that, I just one thing I want to to discuss about how they are brainwashing the Zionists through the media and the police the, you know, Israelification of America and the globalization of militarization, you know, this militarized force controlled by a small number of people. What they are doing with Standing Rock, as well as with Palestine, is trying to convince people that resistance is terrorism. That somehow the water protectors are to blame. Somehow the Palestinians are to blame for their genocide. Well, the Palestinians in Gaza are to blame because they have Hamas. Well, Hamas are Palestinian. They actually have the legal right to resist, even by use of force. I mean, those rockets are legal.
Oh, in the States. I didn't know this until recently. In the States, and I don't remember the name of the court, I'm sorry, of the court document, but in the States it says, and I don't know if it's on the book still, it probably is, but they don't want you to know it. They say that if you are arrested by a police officer and it's unjust, if you're unjustly arrested, you have the right to resist up to the point of taking the officer's life if necessary.
Where was that?
It's in the books. And I didn't know we were going to talk about that, so I don't have the name.
Where was that? I'm sorry.
It's in government records, and it's a transcript from the court. And somebody just flashed it right to me because that's how I feel, and I was talking about it, but I couldn't prove it. Was it
Supreme Court, or was it like a more?
Oh yeah. It's right up to the top. It says that if you are unjustly arrested, you have the right to resist arrest up to the point of taking the officer's life if need be.
Wow.
And it's too bad because I could have cited the actual exhibit.
Maybe we can put it in the article.
Yeah. Here we have a really interesting.
Can I talk a little more about resistance being terrorism?
Of course.
And on that note of Obama passed a law. A lot of people don't know about this, so I want to mention it. That one of the executive orders that Obama passed was about a year and a half ago he legalized the federal government. He made it legal that the federal government can lie to the population using propaganda through media.
Yeah.
Specifically through the media. So that's why we're seeing the Pentagon release false statements and lies about Russia and trying to frame Russia and make it look like Russia has been bombing hospitals in Syria, when in fact it's the United States that has been bombed, the U.S. government that's been bombing hospitals in Syria. Just thought I'd throw that in there. So they do have the federal government, the U.S. federal government now has media stations of their own in order to produce their propaganda. Now, the concept of resistance being terrorism, I'm going to give you an example how the media, using Palestine, how the media is spinning this resistance as terrorism concept. Okay, Palestinians are living on less than 20% of their remaining lands in the West Bank and then in Gaza, which are cut off from each other. Okay, within the Palestinian territory, it's called occupied Palestinian territory. You may hear it referred to as that. So this is legally Palestinian territory still, okay? And what the Israelis do is they go in, like, for example, Hebron. They're there. They've got checkpoints. They've got 700 checkpoints across the West Bank. Their presence is everywhere, prohibiting the movement of Palestinians. They have to pass through checkpoints when they go to work. Well, the majority of the extrajudicial executions that are occurring, 68%, according to a report, are taking place at checkpoints, illegal checkpoints. These checkpoints are illegal. So they're completely controlled. Every aspect of movement for the Palestinian, the entire civilization is controlled. And we're talking, their civilization is 75% refugees as we speak. Now, when the Israelis go into the occupied Palestinian territories, and they do daily, they take their jeeps, they come in and they have their checkpoints there. When they roll into a village, let's say, the Palestinians will go out of their houses and they'll pick up stones and they start throwing it at the Israelis, at the jeeps, okay, with these, heavily armored jeeps, military vehicles. And basically what, the Israeli, the Knesset the lawmakers they're always passing these draconian laws. They made it illegal for Palestinians to throw stones, giving them up to 20 years. They'll punish a child. I don't know if they've punished anybody up to 20 years, but now they've given themselves the liberty to do so. But these are Palestinians defending their own territory in their own territory. Okay? So the media continues to say Israel has a right to defend itself. Israel has a right. No, it doesn't.
I was just going to say that. They don't even have a
right to be there, let alone to defend themselves. And who are they defending? From Hamas rockets? Let's just take that. The settlers. Okay? Hamas rockets can't go beyond the settlements. They don't fire that far. Okay? So they're targeting them at illegal settlements. These settlements are in occupied Palestinian territory, and they're illegal. Every single one of those settlers are criminals that are over 18, are criminals under international law. They need to be restrained by their necks and hauled off, and their children removed for child endangerment. That's what needs to happen. So just to give this is how they paint the picture of self-resistance, of resistance, your right to resist tyranny, as terrorism. They paint the picture that the Palestinians are the terrorists. The Palestinian children throwing stones is somehow terrorism. And again, these Palestinian children are tortured. They are criminalized for throwing stones, for defending themselves in the G4S institutions, militarized institutions, torture facilities. And they are punished. They're gone through military courts, and they are tortured. Virtually all of them are tortured. 40% of these children are taken from their homes at night, from their beds at night. 40%. Their homes are broken into by soldiers in the occupied Palestinian territory. And they are hauled off across the Green Line into these G4S torture facilities. And they're kept there for weeks on end, sometimes months, sometimes years. And they are tortured. They're held in solitary confinement. They're forced into confessions. They're put into stress positions. These are children, okay? As young as 12 years old, some of the times younger. There's been children as young as 8 in these G4S detention facilities. This is horrific that we allow this to go on. Why does it continue? Because of the media. The media lies. Oh, Israel, the terrorists, the real terrorists, have a right to defend themselves. And their victims, the occupied people, are somehow the terrorists. So with Dakota Access Pipeline, with the Sandy Rock, they're doing a similar thing. This is just an Indian thing. Oh, the Indians are acting up again. We got to go in there and, control them.
Oh, even better if I can throw this in. I wish I could have said it at the same time you said it, and it could have been a play. We could have said it together. In Canada, it's the same thing as the United States. They're both colonies. Duh, right? John A. Macdonald in the late 1800s invents. Now remember what Ariyana said, okay? John A. Macdonald invents the RCMP. Actually, it's RCMP today, the police force, but they were called Northwest Mounted Police for 2 reasons. One, John A. wants to continue his railway up to British Columbia, which is the other side of the, he wants to finish the railway all the way through Canada. And he wants to clear 50 miles each side of Indians. Do what you want with them. Carte blanche on Indians, okay? The other reason was because these police would go into Indian villages, steal children as young as 6 years old, 5 years old, from their parents in the villages, take them to the schools, lock them up, torture them, and it's an assimilation tactic. They tried to rub out the, get the savage out, get the Indian out of the human, and then we can maybe civilize these savages, So they're stuck in the institution. What's the most important thing for an Indian? Their long hair. First thing that gets cut off. The medicine bags that the kids got from their mother, ripped off. Everything thrown in a pile and burned. They're thrown across the room, collarbone broken, thrown out of the window of the second floor because they don't clean properly, or, sexual assaults, any kind of abuse you can think of happened to them.
And they were forced not to speak their own language.
Exactly. They were thrown across the room if they spoke their own language. Pass the bread in Indian in the cafeteria, and the guy grabs him by the hair and throws him across the room. Later, you find out he had a collarbone broken. I have physical pieces of paper that say "Death of the Indian," unknown. Send it to the parents. Or the parents come to the school years later to pick up their child, and he had died months before, but we never told you. The other thing I wanted to echo on what you said was very important is that in 2003, on this side of the Atlantic, in this country, a Florida court gave the right to Fox News to invent, distort, or plain out and out lie with the information that they give the public. So that's kind of, co-authoring what you just said. So, it's a very, very ugly past, and it's a very big and deep rabbit hole. Most of us.
Dangerous present. A dangerous present that we're at. We're on a precipice right now. If America falls, if Standing Rock falls, goodbye humanity. This is a fact. I mean, we have to fight, and the people need to focus together and realize the importance of Standing Rock.
And also, I can't believe we forgot to mention this, but we talked about so many things. Who benefits from the pipelines? Hello? Nobody in the United States benefits. So what do we get? Oh, we get the refuse. We get the oil spills. Nobody in Canada or in the United States benefit from these pipelines. The oil goes down, it gets shipped out to China or wherever, and it comes back to money that the elites get. We don't get anything. We're just shit. We just get the garbage. We get the oil spills and we have to live with the pollution. I was thinking about something else and I completely forgot again. But it's nonstop. So to try and kind of bring it to a positive note, like we're trying to do.
There's a little bit more information. Do you want to go through the rest of what you wanted to communicate?
Yeah.
I'll let you go ahead, have the floor, and then we'll end this on we'll try to end this on a positive note, because there is hope.
And this is hard to talk about too, because everybody goes, yeah. There's no such thing as chemtrails.
It's no such thing
as chemtrails.
It's public knowledge. If you don't know, you're behind. Get with it. Not you. I mean, the audience. No.
Oh, I can be. No.
We go to the Liberty Beacon, type in chemtrails. No. We've been publishing oodles on this. It's acknowledged. It's public. Nobody has the right to deny it.
They can even have lithium rain down on you if they want. They can have vaccines raining down on you. They can have nanotechnology.
They're doing that here in Finland. They're actually force vaccinating through chemtrails. They just made it legal. I haven't seen a lot of chemtrails in the sky. It's a smaller amount, but yeah, they're doing it.
There's a beautiful woman. I'm going to call her Candida because I don't want to say her name. And she's Ojibwe, and she recorded on Standing Rock. And this is a quote from her, and I have to say this because it blew me away so much that I had to write it out physically. And I want everybody to hear this. New development. We've had aircraft flying over our camp for several days. Different kinds of small charter planes, what looks or appears to be like helicopters that are coming mostly through at night with their lights off, which causes a danger for other aircraft. They're using this space illegally. They don't have any permits or permission to be using this airspace above federal tribal land, which is stolen land anyway. They're breaking the law.
It's still sovereign territory under the federal law. They are not allowed to fly overhead.
No,
use the airways whatsoever.
They're breaking the law to begin with. So last night, a new development. There was an aircraft flying overhead over the camp, over our encampment, from approximately 1:40 in the morning to 2:20 a.m. that morning. Every 2 minutes on the dot, they're encircling the circumference of the camp and doing what we believe to be spraying chemical agents down on top of us. This is an act of chemical warfare. This is an act of terrorism. And in the United States, by the United States government and against the indigenous peoples of Standing Rock and of this encampment. They're not reaching out the sides where the police department have set up their barricades and their blockades. So we know, therefore, that they're strategically playing these chemicals on top of us. This morning at 5:30, we came out because we heard the same aircraft passing overhead. Actually, it was verified to be a crop duster, and on the underbelly, on the side of it, under each wing, there are 2 hoses which they use to spray down agriculture and poisons on top of different harvests and what they're growing and stuff like that. So this is an act of terrorism, so we're not going to stop. We're not going to stop. We're not going to stop. And she says something very interesting at the end. She says, we're going to fight for the people. Listen to the wording. We're going to fight for the people and keep fighting for the rights. These resources belong to our children. This water belongs to our children. This is our future. These kids need this land. They need this water. They need the resources. We have to stand up and fight to protect them. So a friend of mine in this business, you know, she's really highly trained, and she just throws a comment, and I read the comment and I felt like somebody was choking me. And I have to read this too. She says, the chemical attack more likely contains nanotechnology that is used to help make humans more susceptible to electronic weapon attacks, and for microwave mind control technology that is used for mind reading. Not too many are aware of this agenda, and the new weapon technology is available today.
Yes, it is.
On another occasion, and after I heard this, I have a friend who I rushed to share this with. She knew the woman who was driving the vehicle that was witnessing what I'm going to read to you just now. On another occasion, an unidentified woman, because she doesn't want to be identified, up in Standing Rock, swears that she witnessed an orange-colored cloud coming out of one of the crop dusters flying over the camp, far away. The wind blows this way, it comes into the camp. Crop dusting at this time of year? I don't think so. She has since left the camp and is now sick and receiving medical attention. The photo I have confirmed that I have, I spoke to her on the phone myself. I have her permission to share it. And she was crying. She was just crying buckets as she shared that, because she's bedridden right now.
There's been many reports. There have been multiple reports. I've come across videos of people reporting of these crop dusters coming, these airplanes flying overhead at night when you can't see what's going on in the skies. Many, many times flying over the camp, circling back around, flying again, keeping people awake, and also at night terrorizing the people, using that sound, the crowd dispersal, the sound frequency, the high-pitched sound frequency that it can cause damage. What is it?
LRAD?
LRAD, yeah.
I believe it's called.
Yeah, using that in the middle of the night when people are sleeping in their teepees and in their tents. These techniques. Also, you know what? I forgot to mention, we go back to Sophia, the woman who was deliberately targeted with a concussion grenade fired at point blank range at her groin, at her heart, and on her arm. And the arm, it broke this, we described the injury is very severe. They don't know if she's going to keep the arm. But here's the worst part of all of this, okay? DAPL and police had been blocking off the main road with these burned vehicles. They didn't clear their vehicles out. And their vehicles had been for weeks blocking ambulances and transport. So basically that night, Sophia had to wait 8 hours to be treated, to be taken out of the location she was in with an open wound like that. This is and the next morning, what does the DAPL do? They come with a crane and they remove the vehicles. So yesterday, they come and this is on Standing Rock Rising Facebook page. They actually, photographs, they actually remove the vehicles because they know that someone's going to complain, might complain about this. Although media they haven't mentioned it, but we're mentioning it here, that medics were denied, they weren't able to treat people in time, get in or get out with the people. So it took Sophia 8 hours before she was able to be treated.
And what you're talking about there is the 22nd of November, just so everybody knows, 22nd of November, 2016. Can you just throw something too?
Sunday, wasn't that the 20th?
Oh my.
Sunday, it was the 20th, yeah.
Okay.
The report.
When you have a feather in your hand, in Indian tradition, you cannot lie. The feather will not allow it. And if you know the feather, you do not lie. I want to hold the feather in this case to say something for Sophia that Inder shared with me. If people know about the Sundance, which is incredibly sacred, people don't have the right to film it. And of course, some Indian tribes had fun selling the ceremony so that, Japanese people can come over and get hung on a tree for $3,000. And I have proof of that. And in the most sacred way that I can speak, I want to repeat a message that I know by heart because it's not that long. But this elder said that she went to Sundance and the older people told her that, for anybody who knows about Sundance, you give a flesh offering. That's the ultimate sacrifice besides death. You give a part of yourself to show your sincerity and to show your love for the people and your sacrifice for the people. Well, the elder said that the sacrifice that Sophie made was incredible. She said it was an incredible flesh sacrifice, a human sacrifice. So, aho.
Oh, our prayers with Sophia. The doctors, the surgeon, her father, he gave a public statement that there was shrapnel pulled out of her wound. So it was a concussion grenade. And they forwarded the evidence to the FBI.
And the father says that they were deliberately targeting her. They were deliberately targeting her.
They were deliberately targeting many people. They were deliberately targeted in the head. With these are the supposedly what's called non-lethal weapons, but these non-lethal weapons are not meant to be fired at a human being at point blank range like they were. That is lethal. The way they were using it was in a lethal way, and they trapped them. I mean, this is, of course, they think that they can get away with this because there's nobody out there to witness. And sometimes they even cut the signals so that people can't upload their, videos and stuff. They've shot drones out of the sky. Okay, but these water protectors like Sophia are very brave. They are standing, they are using their bodies as human shields to protect the water and to protect the land. And we need to support them. I think that with everything that we've said here tonight, I think we have communicated the importance of Standing Rock. And for everybody globally, it's not just for Americans. It's not just for the First Nation people. It's not who are, this experience is really uniting them. Tribes have come from all over the country to stand with Standing Rock. But this is a global issue because we are all facing this New World Order agenda. And we are not going to relinquish our freedom. We have a choice. And this is the note that we wanted to leave things on a positive note. There is hope for humanity. There are forces at work that have technologies that are more advanced than any of the shadow governments here on the planet. But we have to choose. We have to choose. Every single human being has to now stand up and make a choice. What future do we want? We are on a precipice. Do we relinquish our freedom and allow ourselves to be subjugated and enslaved any longer when we now have the knowledge of what's going on? Or do we choose to fight? Do we choose to stand with Standing Rock and with humanity, with our brothers and sisters across the planet? We are one human race, and we are all standing against the same threat to our freedom. So we must unite. Standing Rock is it is the best, and maybe the only, and maybe the last opportunity we have to save ourselves. But we have a choice. We have to use that choice. Our thoughts, our prayers are powerful. It's been proven by science in recent years that prayers, our thoughts, do create the physical universe around us. So we have to choose, and choose wisely. Because the greed of DAPL and big oil and these Zionists, it will be their demise. These are their final days. These are the final days. They're fading out. Their power is waning. We already have a new government in place behind the scenes, an anonymous one. And the truth is this has also been a war with technology. These draconian Zionist so-called elites do have advanced technologies that they're planning on using on us. However, there are more advanced technologies that are waiting in the wings and being ready to be used on our behalf. I can't say too much about it at this time, but we, the humanity, have to choose. We have reached critical mass in consciousness. We are awake, and now we have to choose. We have to step up, even if it's in the privacy of your own home, even if it's in the privacy of your own heart, it will be noted. And this is a collective uprising. Every one of us has a key. Every one of us is valuable, and every one of us has a choice. And it's time to choose. What future do we want for ourselves? Do we want the total enslavement of mankind? Or do we want our collective liberation and uprising? Collective enlightenment. This is what we're facing, and this is the time to choose.
In Standing Rock, there were some spiritual developments. Maybe even a small herd, it doesn't matter, but a herd of bison showed up at Standing Rock during the whole process, and everybody, all the Native Americans, they knew what it was. Look, the bison are coming, and they see the ancestors coming up and looking at them, and so what does Dakota Access Pipeline do? They pen them up. They physically pen them up. Okay. Yes. Next thing you hear, eagles are attacking drones. Okay, wow. That's in Washington. Okay, but you have eagles that are attacking drones. So
there's a story also. One eagle landed on the reservation and sat for a long time with the people and allowed them to pet him. A big golden eagle. It was huge. I mean, these things are amazing. Animals are, and the appearance of the bison, the First Nation people recognize the animals as their brothers and sisters. The bison, the eagle, and they say that they're coming to show their support.
Linda Black Elk, I want to finish what I have to say on this note. Linda Black Elk is out there in North Dakota, and she speaks of the multitude of edible medicinal and sacred plants that are right there in the path of the pipeline. And this is a quote from her that I have to read. She says, to a lot of people, they just see grass, they see shrub. Now listen to the words. To us, she says, it's not grasslands. It's not just grasslands. These are sacred medicines up there like euthanasia and others. In Lakota, they call it ishachpehu. I think I hopefully pronounced that right. And it's a beautiful medicine that you can use anytime you're sick to boost your immune system. It's good for sore throats and toothaches. It's probably one of the top 10 medicines that the Lakota people have. And there are literally thousands of them being bulldozed by DAPL, and it's devastating to them. And she stops a minute and she says, when I pray, I actually apologize to the plants. The plants have spirit. They're a nation unto themselves. And I apologize to them for not doing enough to protect them. That's what she says. So it can't get much more beautiful than that. You know,
it's an example of the sensitivity when you choose to walk what they call the red road, or you choose to walk in the path of truth. You choose truth over greed. You develop, you come close to your spirit and the living spirit of all things. And that is a sacredness. It's what connects us. It's what makes us one, unifies us and makes us one. So lend your prayers to Standing Rock, everyone who's listening. If you can't go there and stand with them. And they made a call, by the way, a call to prayer. The date, I'm going to put it into the article with this broadcast because I can't remember it offhand. But they made a call to the planet, the globe, globally, for people to go to Standing Rock and do a 1-hour prayer with them. So if you can make it, this is oh my goodness, I'll have to look up that date. But anyway, the point is if you can go to Standing Rock, go. If you can't go, stand with Standing Rock and do something with your own two hands, like share.
Oh yeah, if you have money, you know, if you have money to send.
Donate. Because people are, the camps need donations. They need blankets, they need tents, they need supplies, food.
For the winter.
Money for food through the winter. It's sub-zero temperatures right now, and they are camping and they are going every day to prevent that pipeline from being built. So they need our donations. And if you can't do that, at least lend your prayers.
Terence McKenna, he says something that I want to share with you too. He says, we have the money, we have the power, we have the medical understanding, and I want to add that we have the spirituality. We have the love and the sense of community to produce a kind of human paradise. But we're led by the least among us, the least intelligent, the least noble, and the least visionary. So what does that tell you? You know? And
in recent times, scientists have proven that love is the most love that emanates from your heart. They can measure this. It is the most powerful and healing force in the universe. So lend your love and support and prayers to the good people at Standing Rock, to the water protectors. Pray for their protection and pray that we are victorious at defeating the black snake, at defeating the DAPL pipeline.
And thank you, Ariyana, for having me. And I really want to say congratulations to you for everything you've done. And it's just an incredible honor to be on board with you.
I feel the same. And I think this is probably one of the best broadcasts that I've ever done. Thank you, Luca. And again, this is Luca Majno.
Majno.
Luca Majno and Ariyana Love. Okay, Luca Majno, investigative journalist, and Ariyana Love I'm a TLB director, the Liberty Beacon, and director of Middle East Rising News Network. We are a global, I didn't say this before, so I'm going to say it now. We are a global independent news network. We are in the top 50 to 100 online news agencies in the world. We are listed next to 100% independent. We are listed next to BBC, CNN, Fox News, ABC, all of those Zionist propaganda mainstream media. So, but we are the real deal, and we represent the voice of the people. Thank you, everyone.
And thank you to Roger Laundrie also.
Yes, thank you, Roger. Shout out to Roger. He couldn't be with us today because he's lost his voice. Working too hard to bring the truth to the people. Yes.